Hello, good crowd. I am here with Jennifer Jones. She is the president and CEO of Media Street Productions and also a member of the Board of Trustees for the Rotary Foundation. We're here at Rotary International headquarters. We're talking about all kinds of great stuff, including fighting polio, which Jennifer has been so involved with over the years. So stick around. You don't want to miss this episode.
Welcome to the Your Mark on the World show with your champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
Our sponsor, Johnson & Johnson, matches most individual donations up to $250 at caringcrowd.org. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure is all ours. I'm so excited to talk to you. You are all that in a bag of chips. And I say that in the most professional sense of the word. You're a big deal. What drew you to Rotary?
Well, thank you for the setup, first and foremost. You know, when I was growing up, my parents instilled service in us. And so participating as a Brownie, as a Girl Scout, those were things that just became natural, you know, making greeting cards and selling them to my neighbors and raising money for UNICEF, those little orange boxes that we used to take around at Halloween to collect money. And so when it came time that someone, actually I was covering, as a rookie reporter, I was covering Rotary before women were admitted, so back, you know, pre-'87. And I remember going to these meetings and, you know, feeling very intimidated, to be quite candid. I was in my early 20s, and this was a very different landscape than I was accustomed to. And then fast forward, and I became a member, and I joined at 27. I remember going to the first meeting, and it was the local cable station manager who had asked me to join. We knew each other professionally. And when I walked in, the club that I belonged to was a fairly good composition between men and women. But I didn't know everybody. I knew a few people, but I felt like I'd arrived home. And ever since then, this organization provides so many opportunities. Yeah. And you know, you can dive in as little or as deep into the pool as you want. And I decided to do a deep dive.
You really have. But what was it that you think, you said you felt right at home. Mm-hmm. What was it that made you feel like you were right at home? What was the attraction?
Well, I mean, service, you know, being able to do something that's larger than yourself as a collective. And certainly that
was... Going back to all those experiences you had as a girl, and Brownies, sure, and Girl Scouts and trick-or-treating for UNICEF.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, the notion that, you know, you could come up with an idea, share it with a group of like-minded individuals, and they say, that's a great idea, let's do it. Yeah. And, you know, just the power of being able to harness that as an organization, you know, that really, I think, started my interest, and then obviously it's propelled me into looking at so many different other areas of our organization. And now I think one of the interesting things on a very personal level is that I actually find myself to be I'm politically driven. Mm-hmm. And in my own community, you know, I've served on, you know, chairing our chamber and our local university and things like that. And, you know, many times people would say, you know, you're going to run for political office, municipal, federal, mm-hmm, whatever. Yeah. And it was like, no, Rotary's my politics. And it's not because it's political. We're a non-political organization. Mm-hmm. But the ability to make a difference globally is what fuels me. And that, I mean, globally and locally, I don't want to leave behind right, the local aspect of that. But to be part of something that's going to eradicate a disease, that is going to provide clean water for the entire country of Haiti. I mean, we are doing mind-bogglingly amazing things, and to play even just a small role in that, that's where I want to put my fight. I want to put my political energy into making those things happen. And, you know, Rotary allows us to do that.
Tell us about the Haiti Water Project.
Well, Hand Wash is it's a hand sanitation, water and sanitation project that past President Barry Rassin is leading. And the intent is basically Rotary acting in conjunction with the Haitian government, they've come up with an agreement that Rotary will be the umbrella organization over the thousands of NGOs in the country that are all working on similar things, but we need to have a more cohesive approach. And so the goal is actually to ensure that every man, woman, and child in the country is provided with clean water and sanitation opportunities. Yeah. And I think it's going to happen.
That is exciting.
It is exciting. It's huge.
It's smaller in scale and scope than polio. As a member of the Board of Trustees for the Rotary Foundation, you are intimately involved in the collection of donations and the disbursement of the grant funding for all of the polio work. Tell us a little bit about your perspective on polio from the desk you sit at.
Well, there's an interesting little story that I like to share, a very quick one, that there were a group of senior leaders. We were meeting about, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And Sam Awori, who sadly has passed on, who was in line to be president of our organization, at that meeting, he said something really profound. He said, if we went to Rotarians 30 years ago and we said, we need you to raise $2 billion, we need you to immunize 2.5 billion children, and it's going to take you more than 30 years to do it, would we have done it? Mm-hmm. I think it's a pretty simple answer, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an audacious goal that, I don't think anyone would have thought we could have taken the bite out of that apple.
We clearly thought it would be easier than this. I say we, but the leadership at the time clearly thought it would be an easier project.
Well, and actually, when you look at the history books that have been written already about this, it was very contentious. I mean, there were a lot of heated debates and arguments, people that believed this is something we should enter into, people who, on the senior levels, who thought absolutely not. So there was a lot of angst as we were entering into this. But polio, from my vantage point, has made us grow up as an organization. I think it took us from our teens, our adolescence, into our adulthood. It showed us the power of partnerships. It showed us the ability to do something on a large, grand scale, something that we could do collaboratively, collectively together. So there's so many lessons that I think we take away from that. And as a trustee, certainly, we sit and we review different grants and different things like that, which is a treat to see what's going on in the field and what people are doing. We've certainly shifted to people who are doing, the Rotarians doing grants in the field now are doing, there's such professionalism behind the kind of way that they're presenting their projects, because we require needs assessment and community assessment and all of these different things to make sure that we're scaling a project appropriately, and that we are the good stewards that we say we are of the funds that people trust and give to us. But so that's really, it's wonderful to be able to sit there and be part of that. But I think the part that excites me most is the fund development side, and that's where I've been having the most fun.
It is hard to imagine that fund development is fun. Most of us mere mortals have a hard time asking people for money. So we've got the right person sitting on the board of trustees, it seems. You referenced at the early part of our discussion that you visited as a young reporter Rotary clubs before they accepted women. Mm-hmm. Now, I think what triggered the women joining Rotary was a Supreme Court case in the United States that Rotary lost and was essentially forced to admit women.
Yes.
An interesting historical tidbit. You sit here now, having spent a few decades, I guess, in Rotary. Tell us about your experience as a woman in Rotary over these years.
Well, let me start, I guess, maybe where I'm at and where I've been the past couple of years, because I think that's probably, from a leadership perspective, maybe the most interesting part of the journey. 15 to 17, I sat on the board of directors, and in 17, I served as our vice president. And it was an extraordinary opportunity, and served along with John Jerm, who was our president at the time. And we really shared a wonderful journey. I loved being able to assist him, and we had a lot of fun. We were doing Facebook Live sessions together and different things like that, communicating. And, we did one, it reached 100,000 different viewers. I mean, that was really spectacular for something like that. And so sitting at the table, through those meetings, now sitting as a trustee, I don't sit there as a woman. I sit there as a Rotarian. And, I think that, we've had, at least for the past 5 years, presidents who have placed a very specific emphasis on growing female membership and growing the under 40 demographic. And we haven't really moved the needle on that, in that area. And so, I guess first and foremost, let me say this. Sitting at the table with my colleagues, they never treated me like I was a woman sitting at the table. We always were equals. Everyone's voice was heard. I've never felt in one way, shape, or form that there was anything different between the colleagues that I was serving with, and that we all made a contribution. I do think that sometimes we do a little bit of a disservice by placing this emphasis purely on women. We need to get good Rotarians into our organization, and that's men and women, and it's not just younger members. We need young thinkers. And so, you can have a 25-year-old who's old, you can have an 85-year-old who's young.
Yeah.
And so it's what's that gap in between, and how do we identify, and how do we really focus in on that? The reality is that women make up more than half the global population, so we've got a bigger pool to fish in. And so that's where I think we need to make our gain, is that we just realize that, there's people that aren't being asked who, just on Monday night, a couple nights ago, one of the past district governors in my district, his wife, he's been in Rotary for 34 years, and I went out on Monday to induct her into the club. She finally said yes. Actually, my husband crossed her over the finish line, and I said to her that night, I said, you've been a Rotarian your entire life. Tonight it's official, and we need to find those folks, women and men, that are exactly like that.
Yeah. There are in Rotary some women who worry about the representation of women in their clubs, in leadership, at the club level, at the district level, and at the RI level. What do you tell them when they come to you with that concern? Because certainly it must happen.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that anecdotally I've found, certainly when I was serving as a district governor, I had a large spike in the number of female presidents who served along with me during that term. And many of them, privately pulled me aside to say, I chose to do this because, you opened a door, and I wanted to serve with a woman. And so, I think if you look at that at every level of our organization, I think that when we see ourselves reflected in leadership, then it's something that other people then want to aspire to. And so I think, whether it is as a club president, whether it is a district governor, whether it is a Rotary International director, whether it is the president, when we see our faces reflected in those roles, we're going to see, I think, more people populating along behind. And so our job, I think, as Rotarians, regardless of gender, is to look for the best people, like I said, but to look for opportunities. Nobody wants to put a woman in just to check a box. And
right.
no one who's a woman wants to be there because of just checking a box. We want to be there because we're qualified. And so our job is to nurture and cultivate and work with individuals, both men and women, to make sure that we get the right leaders in at the right time, and that we're looking for opportunities and opening doors.
You probably don't hear as often. So in your personal circle, you may hear occasionally from women who are not members of Rotary and who are reluctant to join because of this legacy of it being a men's-only club for nearly 80 years, or more than 80
Yep.
years. What would you say to them about, as they think about joining Rotary?
So I guess the hard part is trying to understand what their club experience is like. You can walk into one Rotary club and feel very warm and welcomed, and they might have some more progressive thinking, and it goes really well. You can walk into another club, and there's the table of the guys at the back, and it's like, that's Bob's seat, and you do not take Bob's seat.
Yeah.
And that exists still in many clubs. And, you know, sometimes part of the dialogue that I know I have is, if you are finding yourself in that situation, either look for another club to try, you know, date around all the different clubs to see which one feels good. But if it's not working, start your own. And that's what my sister-in-law did, actually, in March. Her and my brother-in-law started a club, not because they didn't have one that was attractive in their community, but she wanted to start one because they didn't have one in their small 20,000 member sort of rural agricultural area community.
Yeah.
And the really cool thing about their club is that it's all young families, and so the average age is between, well, their age is really between 35 and 45, and they bring their kids. So on Wednesdays, when my brother picks up my niece from school, she says, she's 8 years old, "Dad, we have Rotary tonight, right?" And the kids, you know, they recite the four-way test at the beginning of the meeting, not the adults. And, you know, they have projects that they're working on, and they're blossoming. They're seeing what service is, and, you know, that will be something that is integral to their life as they move forward. It's just going to be what they know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just think it's a beautiful example.
It is. As you reflect on your Rotary career, what are you most proud of having accomplished?
Oh, wow. You know, I don't know that I can pick one thing of being most proud of. I think I feel very proud of being able to just be part of what I've been part of. I know that's not really necessarily where you want me to go with this, but
I want you to go where you want to go.
yeah, no, I don't know that I want to pick one thing, because there's just, you know what, I will say this. You know what I'm most proud of? Rotary made me a global citizen, and it has opened doors the world over to be able to connect with people in countries I never thought I would have visited, to be able to see that we are the same the world over. We all want the same things. We all feel the same feelings. And when you walk into a room of Rotarians, you know, anywhere in the world, you know automatically that, you know, that you're like-minded, and that you have something in common. You have a uniting force. So I think becoming a global citizen probably is something that I would be enormously proud to tell people about.
Yeah. You've had an impressive, as I mentioned, and very impressive professional career, and super impressive Rotary career. As you look back on all those experiences, what is the most important lesson you've learned that you would share with someone else?
So I guess maybe taking a page out of polio, I would say perseverance. Because that's not just about polio. That's about a lot of different things, and trying to move this ship forward, be it polio, be it gender equity, you know, be it bringing in younger members. These are all things that don't happen quickly, and, you know, membership numbers, you know, in North America going down, and trying to right the boat in that kind of way. It's the stick-to-itiveness that we have to make sure we cross the finish line on every one of these things. And, you know, as business owners, we're accustomed to being able to say, this is the way it's going to happen, and this is what we're going to do, and then you do it. And, you know, in this kind of a situation, it's a collective, and we're sitting around the table with in an international meeting. The board, it's fascinating. We all sit with headsets on, and we have live simultaneous interpretation, so that we're talking with each other in real time in our own languages, and hearing our own languages as we speak. And I mean, what a privilege to be able to have that kind of experience. So yeah, I guess perseverance.
Excellent. What is your superpower?
So this is going to probably sound corny, or like it's like I staged it or planned it, but President Mark this year, his theme of Rotary Connects the World really resonates with me. And so I think my superpower, well, is maybe connectivity. That, I love being able to, know someone in one country and someone in another country, and then find a way that they connect through our interaction collectively. Yeah. And so I'll be scrolling along on Facebook and I'll see someone post something, and then someone else that I know that I've introduced them and that they're liking it, and I'm thinking, this is so cool. Like, we're just all connected. And I was in Taiwan just a couple of years ago, and there were some Rotarians who wanted to show my husband and I one of their local projects. And it was a computer lab in a high school where they were teaching English as a second language, and then they put computers into a rural community, into elementary schools. And so the high school students were then teaching the rural students. It was just simply wonderful. But the part that was even a little bit more cool is that they wanted us to go see how they were advertising it on their subway system. They had beautiful public image materials that they had posted. And so as we were riding along the train and stopping and seeing each of the different billboards, we were taking selfies, and we were just having fun. It was a really young, vibrant group. And so this one gal, she's like, okay, it's my turn. And so we do a selfie, and her name was Dolly, 34-year-old Dolly. Just met her that day. And so I said, Dolly, we should become Facebook friends, and then you can send me the photo or post it and tag me, and we'll stay connected. So she sets up a hotspot. I go on. We find each other. I send her the request. She accepts it, and it pops up and it says, you have 11 friends in common. I said, you know Holger in Germany, who's now our president-elect? Right. You know Julio in Mexico? You know Maynard in America? Like, it went on. And these were real, authentic relationships, not Facebook friends.
Right.
One Maynard was her host youth exchange dad. I mean, so it went on, and I just thought, I just met you. But here we have all of this connectivity already because Rotary.
Yeah. It is amazing.
It is.
Amazing. Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time to
be
with us. I know you're busy and it's been an exhausting week, but before you go, would you take just a minute and tell people how they can learn more about Rotary?
Well, the easiest way is to go to Rotary.org and take a look at the homepage there, and stick your big toe in just to take a look at the kinds of things that we're working on and get a little bit of a pulse. Then from there, there's a section where there's member leads. If somebody wants more information, they can fill out a form, and then we actually have people who will direct them to the right area and try to make that connection so that someone reaches out to say, would you like to come to a meeting? I also really encourage, if there's someone who's watching that says, I'm interested in this, I would like to be part of something like this, to look at just Google your local Rotary area and see what clubs are there, and likely you're going to know somebody. It's in our own communities, it's 1 degree of separation often, and so I would just say to poke around and just even Google Rotary, and you'll just start to see what 1.2 million members around the world are doing through all of the different kinds of projects that they've got going on. But whether it's social media or just traditional internet, I think it's a great way just to sort of find a little path.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. We wish you every success in the great work you're doing with Rotary.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it.
Now let's do some good.
At Caring Crowd, we believe everyone has the power to make a difference. Through our crowdfunding platform for community health, we empower passionate people to drive real change. Whether you work for a nonprofit organization, volunteer, or want to get involved for the first time, you can post a campaign on Caring Crowd. Join us, because caring is where change begins.
Thanks for tuning in to the Your Mark on the World show, the Social Impact Podcast. Please subscribe via YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify.